Hi, I'm Lindsay Zubek, and this is Grown to Lead, a podcast by the Plum Leadership Group. This show is about the art and science of leadership and the experiences that shape leaders along the way. Let's dive into today's episode. Shannon, thank you so much for joining me. I am so excited to talk to you today. This is a topic that I know is relevant for everyone in any industry, in any segment, in any job that you're in. It is communication. It doesn't even matter your job, right? Relationships, partners, kids. So I'm so excited to talk to you because I think this is going to be a powerful topic for anyone. So thank you for being here.
Well, it is my pleasure, and thank you for inviting me. I'm excited to be here.
Amazing. So I want to start by just understanding a little bit more about your background, Shannon. So tell me about the life of Shannon, where it's led you to today, and why this topic.
Well, thank you. I think my interest in communication got started when I was a child because I asked a lot of questions. And have you ever heard the term curiosity killed the cat?
Yeah.
Well, I didn't learn until college that there's a second part to that saying. Have you ever heard it?
No, I don't think I have.
Okay, this is the best part of it. Curiosity brought him back.
Oh, I love it.
I know. So I grew up with the idea that curiosity and asking questions was not necessarily the greatest thing. Now, to be fair, I was the youngest of three girls and I asked a lot of questions and I am high energy. So I can see how my parents were like, stop asking questions. But the more I realized that I liked to ask questions and that I was curious, it led me to studying journalism. And so I got a journalism degree, but I didn't really want to practice journalism. So I went into public relations. And that's how I started my career working on communications. I started on Capitol Hill. I worked as a lobbyist. I worked as a public relations person. And I've just always been interested in how people communicate, how they convey what they mean, how they persuade people. So I did a master's in professional communication and leadership. And throughout the past 30 years, I've just been practicing what I've been learning.
Yes. You've worked with and worked for, right? Lots of different organizations, associations, nonprofits. And have you noticed, both from your experience working and supporting those different industries and different sectors, is there any difference in how they approach communication or how they communicate?
That is a really good question. And the thing I think I've noticed is that there are good leaders and there are bad leaders, and there's good communicators and there's bad communicators. And it really doesn't matter the industry. What matters is the person and how much they are willing to learn and be open to becoming better communicators so they can then be better leaders. You cannot be a good leader if you cannot communicate both verbally and also in writing. So I've always been in a position to try to help people learn how to do that better. And sometimes people think they know everything and they don't want to learn. And sometimes people are open to learning and they are receptive. And those are the best kind of people to work with. Those are the people who have the growth mindset. And that is not endemic to any one industry. It's everywhere. There's people who have growth mindsets and people who have fixed mindsets. The key I always look for is trying to work for and with people who have a growth mindset so we can learn together and become better communicators and leaders together, helping each other out.
It's so true that it's not, what you do is so powerful because it is industry sector agnostic, position agnostic.
Exactly.
You can be a leader no matter what your title is, no matter where you are within an org chart, whether you're not an organization. And that's why the effects of communicating properly, effectively, are just so vast.
Exactly. And I teach in my sessions when I do keynote speeches and workshops, I have the concept of executive presence that I talk about. And one of the topics and one of the tenets of that is that we are all leaders in our own lives, whether we have the corner office or the title or the salary to match a CEO that you would think would be a traditional leader. It doesn't matter. We are all leaders in our own lives. And if we make ourselves a leader to ourselves and then make ourselves guides for other people and have that mindset, that's what makes a great communicator, because these are the kind of people who, again, are open to learning and who want to help and serve other people. It's not about them, it's about us and how can we make progress together. And really, that's the definition of leadership. I used to think when I was first out of college that leaders were these people who got to just tell people what to do and things would magically get done. Well, spoiler alert,
Yeah.
doesn't work out that way. So through working and then raising 3 children and being married for 30 plus years, I came to understand that leadership is really about building trust. And it's about creating an atmosphere where people feel heard and respected and motivated to share their own ideas so that we can figure these things out together. That's the true definition of leadership. And that's what I live my life by.
So Shannon, something that I'm particularly interested in is confidence. Confidence impacts the most senior CEO and the most junior. So when you're working with a leader who might be struggling with confidence, especially as it relates to communication, why do you, first of all, why do you think that is? And what can you do to support them? Like, why do you think they struggle with confidence and what can you do?
I think part of the issue in this day and age is that there is so much information out there. And for some reason, and I used to think this, but I've gotten away from this mindset, is that I have to know everything before I try out anything new. Mm-hmm. And I have to figure it all out myself. And I've just let go of those 2 ideas because great leaders don't do that. Great leaders know they're not going to know everything about a topic. And in fact, great leaders listen more than they talk. So the great leaders are the ones who are sitting in a conference room and just sitting back and listening to what people have to say, asking an occasional question, but they're listening more than they are talking because they understand that they don't know everything. And also, they don't think they have to do everything themselves. That's why they surround themselves with great people. So if you're struggling with confidence, I would suggest to first let go of the mindset that you have to know everything about a topic, because you certainly don't. And as we've shown in the last couple of years with AI, there's thousands of years of knowledge and no one can possibly know everything about anything. So let go of that idea. And then secondly, open your mind so that people will help you and make you a better person and help you grow and learn if you ask for help and if you seek that guidance from other people. That, I think, makes you more confident because then you can let go of the idea that you have to be perfect and that you have to know everything and that you have to be everything to everybody.
Absolutely. It totally does. If we can eliminate the whole perfection idea of perfection.
Yes.
People learn more from other people's struggles than they actually do their successes and accomplishments. And so you're so right. It's that worry that I have to do a perfect presentation. I have to, no one's expecting that. It's more internal.
I know. Yes, I know. And it's crazy, isn't it? Because when I teach my undergraduates public speaking, I try to say to them, there is no such thing as a perfect speech. There is no such thing as a perfect anything. And the other thing that I think will help with people's confidence is to get rid of the idea that there's right and wrong. And so if you let go of the idea that you are right on this and this is the way it has to be done, or I need to know the exact way this is going to turn out, you'll be able to function better in life because you'll understand that there is more than one way to look at things, and perception is never wrong. So how people look at things is how they look at things. People have different life stories, different backgrounds. So a great example of this is if you ever go to buy a car, this has actually happened to me where I went to buy a car and I saw the price tag and it was $60,000. And I said, holy, little word slipped out. That is a lot of money. And the sales guy said, well, it's really not when you consider all that you get. But my perception, Mr. Salesman, if you want to make the sale, is that is a lot of money. That's college tuition, that's salary, that's mortgage, that's a lot of money. But his perception is it's not, because you get a lot for it. We are not right. We are not wrong. We just have a difference in perception. So getting to that mindset where you can let go of having to be right, that's going to help with your confidence too, because you're going to be more open to learning and to letting people help you and figuring things out together.
So I'm so interested in that example from a sales perspective, I feel like there's a lot of things
Mm-hmm.
that salesperson might not have done. How would you,
Yes.
if you were the salesperson and someone was like, ooh, ouch, like how would you have then communicated with you?
One of my favorite phrases to use to be a strong communicator is 3 words: tell me more.
Hmm.
So if anyone says anything to you, first of all, you want to kind of read where they're coming from. And when I said something like, that's a lot of money, I was being a little emotional. So he did 2 things wrong. First of all, he didn't see things from my perspective, and he didn't match my feeling. I was being emotional, and he responded with a practical response. So we didn't align on the kind of conversation we're having. So the first thing you need to do is figure out what kind of conversation people are trying to have with you. Is it emotional? Is it social? Or is it practical? And then match that type of conversation. And then the second thing is, instead of trying to get your words in, just say, tell me more. So if I was a salesperson, I would have said, oh, I can see that you're surprised at how much this is. Tell me more. And then I would have said, well, the first car I bought, and it would have gone on, my first car I bought was $8,000. Now I'm coming to spend 60. Are you kidding me? So I would have been able to talk and get the emotions out. And eventually I probably would have gotten around to, okay, that's a good price for this car, but not right off the rip. You got to match that emotion that I'm having. Let me talk, and then you can get further in on the conversation.
It's like he didn't hear you, right? And maybe you would have said, oh, well,
Yes.
my budget is 50. And then he can be like, great, I have a great car that's 50, right? Instead
Mm-hmm.
of listening to you and making assumptions.
Right.
So
He didn't
did you
listen. He didn't ask any questions. So that's a huge mistake.
and we all want
Yeah.
to know, did you buy the car?
Eventually. So yes, my children are all done with college. It's
Yeah.
kind of funny. Our son just finished. Our youngest finished in May, and guess when my car died? May.
Yeah.
Yeah, and we had been looking. So yeah.
One of the things that you do, not just with the individual, you help teams and you help them create
Mhm.
cohesive, impactful messages that help them align with their brand. What's one practical tool or mindset shift that leaders can use to help do this better?
Listen, I'm going to repeat this over and over and over, but if you are trying to get team cohesion around a message, you can't just impose what you think the message should be. You may eventually get to that point, but people are more likely to adopt what you want them to adopt if they have some say in coming up with a solution. So when we're trying to find a common phrase that everyone can use, or if we're trying to get aligned on what we think we should be doing going forward, what I like to do is get everybody in the same room and present what I think the solution to the problem is, and get it to about 80%, and then say, but what do you think? Tell me more. Help me out with this. I need your collaboration to make sure that we get this right. And then you get people to buy in because they're helping to set the stage about what they think. And then eventually you get to a point, you may not have 100% agreement, but as long as people are heard, they generally go along with the final decision. Not always, because you're always going to have those outliers, but most kind of normal, sane people, if they've had their say and you explain why you were going to go in a different direction, they'll say, okay, well, we didn't agree this time, but maybe next time we will. And that's what leadership is all about, is making that tough decision, but being transparent and explaining why, and not hiding behind excuses, and being honest is what the real key is, and being transparent about the decisions you make and how you make them, and owning them, and then sticking with them and making sure that everybody's on board.
So true. The key to all of this is listening, and the outcomes.
Mm-hmm.
I assume that what stands in leaders' way might be time and ego, right? But if they can get
Yes.
past that, yes, it might take a little bit longer. And yes, you might come to an outcome that's not necessarily what you thought at the outset, but you're going to get to something that's stickier. You're going to get to something that, like you said, has more buy-in. So it's just
Mm-hmm.
encouraging leaders, I assume, to get past ego and
To
time to
take the
get.
time. Yeah. And that's the challenge, right? We're all so busy. And it'd be so much easier to just say it's my way or the highway. But again, that's not what great leaders do. Great leaders build trust. Great leaders listen. Great leaders want help to figure out where to go next. Now, that being said, not all great leaders need input from everybody. So if you are a CEO, I'm not saying you have to listen to the janitor. I'm saying that if you have a team around you helping out, you should listen to what they have to say to help you determine where to go. And there is something to be said for experience, that the leader knows more and knows about the whole organization versus individual departments. But that's what we're paying CEOs for, is knowing all of that, but taking it all into account and then making the decision. So you have to have input and buy-in to be a successful leader.
Absolutely. So what about those situations where we can't use our listening? And I say this in that you and I both deliver keynotes, and often, I mean, I know you and I try to incorporate some audience participation, but for the most part, you can't. So how do you work with, or how do you coach someone like me who's speaking but not using that tool of listening? How do you help them become confident? What are some tips and tricks? Like, what would be your advice?
Yes. 3 words: practice, practice, practice. And I say this all the time to my students. Give yourself the gift of confidence by practicing. There is nothing you can do that will make you more confident than just practicing what it is that you want to say. If you're doing a keynote, if you're delivering a speech, if you're just talking to your team in the morning, practice what you're going to say. And a great way to structure a speech is to tell them what you're going to tell them, and then wrap it up by telling them what you just told them. So it sounds repetitive, but we're hit with so many messages. So if you just say, this is my thesis, here's why, and wrap it up with the same thesis, you're going to be more successful in communicating to your team or to the audience that you're talking to. So number 1, make sure you practice. That's the most important thing. The other thing I highly recommend is taking some yoga classes or some breathing lessons in another manner, so that you can learn how to fill your entire lung capacity with air. Most people breathe from the top third of their lungs, and then it makes them sound like this because they've got that shortness of breath and they can't catch their breath. So if you use your entire breath, your entire lung capacity, you're going to be much more confident when you speak. And that just comes with practice and understanding how to expand your lungs and use your entire lung capacity, not just the top. And then finally, figure out how to stand confidently. For most people, it's on both feet, and it's lifting up through the knees and leading with our hips. So instead of slouching over, it's standing nice and tall and getting that confident stance. So between your practice and your breath and your stance, that will help you become more confident when you go on a stage, or even when you just go into a meeting room and need to talk to someone else.
That's so true. I would say I would have the same advice. Those are the same things I do, especially your opening, because it's natural that everyone in the first 5 minutes, there are going to be those nerves. And if you have your opening down pat and then you start to flow.
You open it strong. And I have students all the time looking down at their notes when they start. So they'll say, or they'll ask a rhetorical question and they won't wait for an answer.
Yep.
And if you practice enough, you won't do that. So you look up, you look at the audience, you engage, you stand confidently, and you know what you're saying for the first at least sentence or 2. And then you might want to go to your notes. But if you're doing this professionally, you'd have more than that memorized.
Right.
And I've kind of gotten to the idea that I have given up on memorizing my speech. I have tried and tried and tried, but you know what? The speeches I teach, when I look at all the great speakers, MLK, I Have a Dream, using notes. Any president, any speech, using a teleprompter. So I have decided that I am not better and smarter than the presidents and MLK. So I will memorize my opening and then I'll go to my notes, and I'm perfectly okay with that. And people should be as well, but nail your opening, because people remember the beginning and the end.
Yes.
And sometimes in the vast middle, it's kind of fishy or wishy-washy, but if you nail the beginning and the end, you'll be good.
Totally. Yes, I agree. What advice would you have to someone in their everyday communication?
I think we should always be aware of how we are presenting ourselves. And that's that concept of executive presence. It's everything from your gravitas, how serious you are about what you're talking about, to how you appear, and to how well you know your information. So I would recommend that you look the part. If you want to be persuasive and if you want to be seen as a leader, you have to dress the part, you have to act the part, you have to speak the part. So you need to have that confidence. And again, I know it's kind of chicken or egg. Do you have the confidence, or do you practice to get the confidence? And it's all in the mind. You have to have the mindset that I am going to be a confident leader and I am going to be able to do this. I'm not going to be perfect. I'm letting that go, but I'm doing the best I can. And I am presenting myself as someone who has subject matter knowledge, but not everything. And I'm confident enough to come across that I know things, but I'm not a jerk. And am I allowed to swear?
Of course. Yeah.
Okay. So I have a term for this, and it's thanks to my sister. When we were younger and before we were serious about anybody, she always said, you need to date someone with the asshole factor.
Yes, you do.
And I'm like, wait, what? So, but here's the caveat. You don't want them to be an asshole. So there's a difference. So let me tell you, the asshole factor, and if you can think of a different term, I'd be willing to listen to it, but I've been thinking about it for 30 years.
Perfect.
You want that asshole, because if you are confident, you're kind of an asshole. But if you are an asshole, you're going to crash and die. Like, for instance, my husband's a pilot in the Navy. He has to have that factor when he's flying this gray helicopter off this little gray ship and landing in the Mediterranean in 30-foot seas when there's no moon. He can't be mamby-pamby. But if he's a jerk, he's going to crash and kill people. Same with a surgeon. He has, or she has, to be really confident in what they're doing. But if they get cavalier, they're going to kill someone. So that's the same kind of thing that you need to embody no matter what job you're doing. If you're an accountant, you have to know that you are a great accountant. You know these numbers, but you're not going to be a jerk and not check stuff, because then you're just being a jerk and you're going to not be effective. So having that confidence, that factor, no matter what you do, is going to be a key to being a good leader and good at what you do. And that's that executive presence. It's swagger, but it's swagger with warmth.
It's almost like an overconfidence, and that when it comes from the right place, it's not a compensation, it's not a faking, it's a true inner confidence and security in who you are. That's when, yes, to some people you might look like an asshole, but really it's like it's covered in warmth and genuine, a genuineness, because it's coming from the right place. It's not coming from I'm better than you. It just comes from I'm really secure in who I am and what I'm doing.
And that comes from practice.
Yes.
Right. Because these people have practiced their art. They've practiced their craft. So they have that confidence from knowing what they're doing. And it just takes time a lot of the time, especially when you're dealing with people who are still in college or who are just out of college. They just need some time. And you've got to give yourself a little bit of grace during this learning period. And even when you try something new, I don't know, Lindsay, I know we talked a little bit, but I'm the kind of person who tries new things all the time. I did my master's when I was in my late 40s. I mean, they had this new thing since I went to college for the first time in the 80s, and it was called the internet. It was awesome. I went to my first class. I'm like, no idea that there was a login and a whole system online. I'm like, what?
Did you
I'm not going to get a packet of paper?
Yeah, your paper and your
I took I took a typewriter to college, people.
Yeah.
So yes, there were changes. I've done certifications in fitness over the years. I'm a yoga certified instructor and personal trainer, group fitness. And every time I tried that, I thought, I can't do this. But then I did, and I practiced, and it takes time. And I gave myself a little bit of grace to say, I'm a beginner. I don't care if I'm in my 40s or 50s. I'm still a beginner at this. And I'm going to try to learn and make myself better, because life is short. I want to live it to the best and fullest of my capability.
And no one starts out being an expert in what they do. And I think that's the big misconception that a lot of people see the author or the speaker or the CEO or the athlete, whoever it is, at the pinnacle, and they don't see
Yes.
all of the things that have come
Mm-hmm.
way, all the hurdles that they've had to overcome. And it's not that you're not nervous, right? The first time you tried something, the first time
Mm-hmm.
you went back to school, but you're not letting those thoughts impact your action. You're still pushing through
Exactly.
doing. And that's where I think
Right.
confidence can stand in people's way, is when it paralyzes them instead of just doing it.
Yes.
It'll be hard the first time, but the second
Right.
time it's easier, third time it's easier, like it just gets easier and easier.
Right.
Yeah.
And I kind of say that Nike, I like their just do it, but I kind of think a better slogan is just do something.
Just do something.
You know?
Yes.
You can't think yourself to competence. You can read 100 books on sales, but until you make that first sales call, you're not going to know what you're doing.
Yeah.
And I've made plenty of mistakes in my whole, I mean, good Lord, how many mistakes have I made? Probably more mistakes than good decisions. Who knows? I can't really tally it up because you're not quite sure, but you live, you learn, you grow, and you move forward. And you try not to rue on the idea that you could have done it better. Yeah, you could have, but take that and learn, and then next time do better. That's all we can do. That's the best we can do. Give ourselves a little grace and move on.
So on that note, Shannon,
Mhm.
even great communicators have off days. Have you ever
Yes.
had, a day or a speech or a workshop or anything just not go the way that you would have liked to? And what did you take away or learn from that experience?
Well, I have a kind of a funny story. I was kicking off a conference. I was the keynote speaker, and I practiced for an hour and 15 minutes, which is what the slot was. But when I got up on the stage, I somehow felt like I was being rushed because I only had an hour. So I finished 15 minutes early because I just somehow forgot how long my speech was supposed to be. So I was mortified. I got off the stage and I'm like, oh shit. But I talked to the organizer and she said, no, it's fine. We'll do the group photo, and it all worked out. But I'm like, are you kidding me? I mistimed myself. And I thought, why am I rushing so much? So yeah, I mean, I'm a professional speaker and I messed up the time.
As well, Shannon, is that no one notices or cares if you mess up.
I know.
That goes for public speaking or in life.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Where you
Yes.
skip your time 15 minutes. Guess what? It might have been a gift to them. Maybe someone needed to make a phone call. They needed to get the group photo. Like you possibly could have been the key to a schedule that they couldn't figure out where to fit something in. Or if you miss, you don't say something the right way, or it does, like, they're there to take away what they want to take away. And so, yes, still practice and prepare.
Yes.
And ask questions and do all of those things. But at the end of the day, forgiveness of when you mess up or mess up, I say, in questions. That's
Yes.
the biggest thing, is to not let it impact you as well.
Right. And try not to let it show.
Yeah.
One of the most common things my undergraduates do is they say, oh, wait, sorry, I messed that up. Can I start over? Or, oh, sorry, I didn't mean to say, and I'm like, stop saying sorry.
Yeah.
Just move on. I didn't even know what you were supposed to be saying. So you are 100% right. Just keep it moving, people. Keep it moving. Nothing to look at here. Smile and wave.
Yep.
Yeah. You remember Madagascar? Smile and wave, boys. Smile and wave. Just move on.
Life lessons. So now we're going to get to my favorite part of the podcast, Shannon, and I'm going to do a bit of a lightning round where I'm going to ask some leadership questions, and whatever comes to mind first. What's one word that describes your communication style?
Energetic.
Love it. Shannon, what's the best piece of communication advice you've ever received?
Well, my mom was right. God gave us 2 ears and 1 mouth for a reason, and that is because we should listen more. The best leaders, the best communicators are great listeners, and combine listening with saying, tell me more, and you're going to be a successful leader.
Communication pet peeve that drives you crazy?
Like, I guess it's those filler words. Like. Practice so you get rid of them. There's nothing wrong with a short pause. Think a little bit, be calm, and speak clearly when you're ready. Get rid of those filler words.
So true. That pause can be
Yes.
powerful, really.
In fact, one of those easy buttons that Staples has? You can get those buttons online for kids games, and I have them in my class. And the minute someone says, I start, and then people are saying, can I have the buzzer? Can I have the buzzer? And it gets to be a competition to buzz each other out. And 9 times out of 10, by the end of the class, most people aren't doing it. It's hard to fix, though. It's something you have to practice. Just pause and think. Well, and another trick these days that's so easy is just record yourself. I got out of the habit of saying right at the end of every sentence. I listened to myself in one of my sessions, and I thought, that makes you sound not confident. I was asking people, right? Like, do you believe me? And I just really learned after listening to myself once to erase that from my vernacular. And I'm not perfect, obviously, but I basically don't do that anymore. So recording yourself is a really great way to learn from what you do and how you sound to make you a better speaker. The other thing that I've done is I've taught fitness classes for 30 years. And if I can do a kickboxing class and aerobics that we used to call it and still talk, I'm good. I can get on a stage, no problem.
Shannon, as a final question, if you were to give a new or emerging leader some advice as it relates to communication, what would you say to them?
I think the thing that I would say is just do your best. Figure out where you can say yes and change your mindset from one of being scared to one of growth and learning. I think having that growth mindset is the key to anyone's success. So release the idea that you have to know everything. Release the idea that you have to do everything yourself. Ask questions. Ask for help. Let people guide you so you can become a better version of yourself and have an open enough mind that you want to learn, that you want to become a better person, and choose the people that you're asking wisely so you get good advice and can grow with their help.
Well, thank you so much, Shannon, for being here. I know I have learned so much today. I am taking away listening. I'm taking away tell me more. I'm taking away
good.
Practice. Being at the top of your confidence, right? And I love how you can take these, what seems like really daunting, complex, big ideas and just put them into bite-sized pieces that everybody can benefit from. So I'm very grateful for you, Shannon. Thank you for all of your warmth and generosity and support. I appreciate it. And I hope to see you again soon. Thank you.
Well, you are welcome. Thank you very much.
If you've ever found yourself thinking, how do we actually get better as an organization? Here's a simple place to look: your managers. Managers have an outsized impact on performance, culture, and whether people stay or leave. But most managers are promoted because they're good at their job, not because anyone taught them how to manage people. That's exactly why we created Manager Essentials. Manager Essentials is a 100% online program designed to support new and emerging managers with real training and one-on-one coaching. It helps strong performers step into people management with more capability and less guesswork. If you're interested in developing managers who can handle the day-to-day realities of leading people, you can learn more at plumleadershipgroup.com. Thanks for tuning in to Grown to Lead, a podcast by the Plum Leadership Group. You can find even more insight and conversation like this one on LinkedIn from the Plum Leadership Group or on Instagram at Plum Leadership. Hear new episodes when they're available by following Grown to Lead wherever you listen to podcasts. Thanks for tuning in, and remember, you are a masterpiece and a work of art at the same time.